All right. Welcome to your first success session of your final year at the Blue Water Middle College. I'm Ms. Weimer, of course, and most of you probably already know that, but I'm the college and career advisor, and that is the main gist of today. And so we'll talk a little bit about, that's the focus of most of this stuff today. But if that's not your plan, we're going to talk about a few other things. And then this is still a helpful thing, even if you're not planning on transferring to a 4-year school right away. Lots of people do change their mind on things over the course of this year. So just start with kind of some updates of just, we're going to talk about what you need to do to make sure that you finish everything, your diploma, your college degree, stuff that will transfer, a certificate, if you're not anywhere where you're close to getting a degree. We'll talk about basically the next step. So how to start the application process and submit quality college applications if you're planning to move on to a 4-year school. So we are in week 6 of the semester right now. I don't know if it's going fast for you guys, but it's going really fast for me. And early alert grades will be posted on Monday. So that's the progress report that's always available after your first 6 weeks. And of course, you guys are old pros at this and know that that's not your final grade, but it is a good snapshot of where you're at right now and how things are going. And then registration for winter semester opens on Monday, October 30th, technically the Sunday night at midnight. And we'll kind of talk a little bit about that. But we're not going to get into a huge refresh on how to do that. So I'll point you to some resources that we have on our website that can help you if you need to refresh your memory on how to do that. And then our next success session is my favorite and the most useful, which is maybe sad to say since we're not the ones that actually give that presentation, but that's where the financial aid office from SE4 comes in and gives that presentation on just all of the types of financial aid that are out there, what each thing means, what's a loan, what's free money, and how it all works, basically. So those we'll have 2 options in person on Friday, November 17th, and then we'll have in Zoom online again on the Tuesday night. That's actually a couple weeks later because those are in person's right before Thanksgiving, and then the Zoom will be the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. And parents are welcome, invited, encouraged to attend that one. So definitely spread the word to them, and we will be letting them know that as well. One quick thing to talk about with high school graduation is that most of you have finished all of your requirements. If you participated in commencement stuff at your high schools at the end of 12th grade, then that means pretty much that you had everything finished. There's a couple people that have something left, but everybody has this final requirement where the state requires all students to have 4 credits of math for what's called the Michigan Merit Curriculum. So every student in the state is doing that. And then they also have an extra little phrase in the law that says all students must complete a math-related experience in their final year of high school. And so for middle college students across the state, anybody that has this 13th year, that is your final year. So that means that's why you had to do a math something this year. So this is in addition to the 4 credits that you needed to finish, just to finish the basics in order to do commencement last year. So it only counts if you take it this semester or next semester. So sometimes people have taken a summer class or just really have a hard time comprehending that it's not whatever you took senior year. It's not senior math like your counselors might have referred to it. It's this final year math, and it has to be this year. And then all that, you get your high school diploma next May in 2024. And so hopefully everybody's on track for that. I did, when I sent letters home about where your progress was for your degree, I did mention if you were registered for something that would count as this. But if you have any questions, just let me know and I can tell you, oh yeah, you're taking this and it works. Or if you know you don't have something, I can give you ideas of what to take. anything math obviously would work, but there's also a ton of other stuff. There's accounting, there's this class called Business 199, which is financial math, which actually is a really helpful to real life math. There's some science stuff that works. So if you're concerned or have any questions about this, just let me know. And then this is just a big year in general in that you're here and basically full-time college. So you're doubling the number of credits that you already have. So your first 2 years was basically 1 year's worth if you were a full-time student spread over those couple of years. And now you are a full-time student. So you're doing basically your second year. So you're going to double the number of credits, which means there's a lot of impact that you can still have on your GPA, both just your college GPA, as well as these classes still go onto your high school transcript. So the goals are always getting primarily first. Our primary focus is making sure that you get that high school diploma. And then the icing on the cake is that you could potentially be getting your associate degree as well at pretty much the same time. You'll actually get that first, or you would do that commencement first at the end of this year. And then you're going to start figuring out the whole transfer process. And a lot of you already have started that process and have been working to make sure that the stuff you're doing here at SC4 will transfer onto your bachelor's degree. And we'll talk in more detail about that. But all of that is to say that there's still a lot of stuff you can do that will impact your degree completion here at SE4 and how things will transfer and your GPA. So it's time to really lean in, step up, and not just kind of like lay back and let this be a senioritis part 2 kind of a year. So we don't really get too deep into the data anymore. This is an old holdover from Mr. Spencer, who was with us, our director, a few years ago. But these statistics stand pretty close year to year. That at the time of graduation, at the end of 13th year, less than half of our students actually earn their SE4 degree by the end of 13th year. And then within another couple of years, there's another like 17%, so that we get to 2/3 have a degree at the end of 2 years after graduation. So some of that is just people that maybe didn't get an associate degree, but they went on and finished a bachelor's degree in that time. Other people are finishing up an associate degree and it just took a little bit longer. They had other stuff to do. And that's wonderful. These numbers, I don't know if that seems low or high to you, but they're higher than the average SE4 student. They're much higher than the average person that lives in St. Clair County. Like, I think only about 30% of the county has any kind of degree. So you're already on the right track, but it's just what happens to stop you from it, basically. So this is kind of the year where people will get off track. So sometimes it's that people change their program. They might have been doing something very specific. Like I know I've worked with a student who was doing a computer degree. And so they have all these CIS classes and then have changed their mind. And sometimes people will switch to a more general degree, like the arts or sciences, and we can take what they've done and it kind of just counts for electives. But sometimes people are switching to another specific thing. Like I've actually worked with a student who switched from CIS to criminal justice. And both of those are really specific lists of classes. So things that worked for CIS are not going to work for criminal justice. And so sometimes people get behind that way. And I don't know, sometimes people get hung up on that, but I look at it as you got to figure that out for free. And even though you might not finish the degree on time and you still end up having to pay for some classes after the fact, you did have that whole chunk paid for while you kind of figured out a good thing, not finishing a degree for something that you know you don't want to do. Another group of people that don't get their degree is sometimes people were never planning to get the associate degree. They've only been looking at what will transfer to their 4-year school, and that's fine and good. I will say almost every single person who tells me they're in this group, when we do the research and look at the transfer resources out there online, we do find it might only be a class or two difference between, like, if you just take that second humanities and maybe you don't need that for your 4-year degree, but it would finish the associate degree for you, then in my opinion, that's worth doing if you can fit it into your schedule. But the majority of people that don't earn their degree on time or ever are because of failing or withdrawing from classes. And oftentimes that happens for the first time in their final year. So probably most people have not withdrawn from a class as of yet. And I would say the majority of our withdrawals do happen for the first time in the 13th year. So that's where it's just really the time to kind of dig in and try to avoid that. It can be costly. Basically, it just would lead to a delay in getting your degree. Sometimes there is some wiggle room where you can withdraw from a class and it doesn't put you behind and you can still finish on time. But at this point in the game, you've planned your semesters to probably be not super high credit. Like if you don't have a 17 credit semester, you might not have as much wiggle room. So that's where it does result sometimes in having to pay for a class after your time at the middle college. It does list as a W on your college transcript, which I know we've talked about through the years, that one is not a big deal. Future colleges, future employers are not going to look at that as a huge ding on your record. But when people withdraw once, statistically, they're much more inclined to withdraw again. And when you start to have multiple W's on your transcript, then that starts to look like you don't finish what you start. And if you do ever have to show this to an employer in the future, that might be something that you'd kind of have to explain. If you really got into a habit of tons of withdrawals, that can put you below the completion rate that's necessary for financial aid eligibility. And that's basically the ratio between how many credits you have completed versus how many you have attempted. So anytime you fail or withdraw a class, that dings that completion rate. And then altogether, it does cost you the opportunity to face that challenge and overcome it. And oftentimes when people come to us and they are certain they need to withdraw, there's been times where people's grades are not as bad as they think, or they do finally meet that great tutor that helps them get on track, or they up the time that they're putting in, or whatever it takes to kind of get past it. And then the feeling that you have finishing a class like that is way bigger sense of accomplishment than just finishing a class that's just, yeah, it was fine. I just did the stuff and it was not a big deal. Overcoming that challenge really is a satisfying thing and helps you in the future learning how to do that. So if you are thinking about it, reach out to one of us. There are steps that we need you to take before you would be allowed to withdraw. The system doesn't allow you to just withdraw it without permission. You would need to meet with one of us. We'd communicate with a parent. We would, first of all, ask, have you talked to your instructor? Have you met with your instructor? Have you tried tutoring? What's the issue? We talk a little bit more detail about the consequences of withdrawing based on your specific situation. And then your parent would need to confirm that that's okay. And then we may approve it, but we may not. If we see that we're meeting with you and we have this talk and then you've given it no further effort, then we might not approve that. And you may just have to stand with the grade that you have. So as far as the degree completion, most people are pretty much on track as of right now. So you should have received a letter from me this summer. And basically I spend the summer doing a review of everybody's degree progress, or everyone going into their final year, and then letting you know what you have left. So if you did not get that letter, or if you have questions about that, let me know. We can also have a conversation. More often people are kind of finishing up the requirements, and then you're going to get to winter semester where maybe you only have one requirement left, or maybe you're totally done with your requirements and you need to figure out, okay, what am I going to take just to get these last 15 credits or whatever it is that you have left. So we can talk about that. We can talk about transfer stuff. I can help connect you to advisors at the places you're thinking of transferring to. And so that's kind of the focus of what we should be talking about this year. And then we'll talk a little bit about college applications and the rest of this presentation, but that's also another thing that I can help with. But the moral of the story is really focus and try to complete your degree. it really is a valuable thing. You never know what's going to happen over the next few years. I have just in my own life, friends and acquaintances who didn't end up finishing for a whole variety of reasons and are regretful about that and really have nothing to show for it because they got maybe a little bit into a bachelor's degree, didn't finish, don't have an associate degree, they have student debt and nothing to show for it. So it's really important and can be helpful to have that associate degree to put on your resume, even though you're 100% sure you're going to go on and finish a bachelor's degree. So that might be finishing on time in May. If you have just one class left, that's something that you could do over the summer, and SC4 still lets you participate in the commencement stuff the first Friday of May. If you have more than a class, sometimes they'll just say like, okay, well, when you're done, you can come to the graduation next May. That you probably won't really care about once you transfer on. But if you're pretty close, that would be something that we should talk about now to figure out what to prioritize for you to take in winter semester. And my recommendation is always just first finish the MTA, the Michigan Transfer Agreement. And then if you can, finish all the actual required courses for a degree. And then it'll just leave you to maybe your short 7, 10, 12 elective credits. That means you can transfer on to the next place next fall, and you can do this thing called reverse transfer, where basically your first semester, once you transfer away, you can transfer that back to SC4, and that would finish out the requirements for you. And you would get your associate degree once that's all done. So if anybody is already sure that you're not going to finish on time this year, reach out to me and let's set up a meeting and kind of talk that through about how to prioritize for registration for winter. So the big thing, what most people are here for, is the whole college application process. This again is another, this is from presentations back when Mr. Spencer made these, but I've kept it because I think it's a perfect dad joke, cheesy, just the maze of the college application process. And I used to say that it's still somewhat an unnecessarily complicated process, but I have come around to the idea that it's not necessarily that it's complicated or too complicated. It's just that there are so many options of what you can do, schools you can go to, things you can major in, trades, military, workforce, just a lot of different options that you have. And so it's not really a point where we can just give you a step-by-step of this is what you do. We have some basics that everybody should kind of do, but each person's situation is different and unique. And so that's the stuff where we can really help you more one-on-one. But the basic steps are that first you need to identify where you think you want to apply to. You have to prepare to apply. There's some things to do before you actually do the application, and we'll talk about that. Ideally, you can do that by the end of September, but that's just this week. So you may not be there yet, and that's okay. And we'll talk about that. If you can apply in October, you're ahead of the game. You're on kind of the early end of the applications. You'll get your decisions pretty early. October is called Michigan College Month in the state of Michigan, and a bunch of schools have fee waivers for applications. So that would be ideal if you can actually submit those applications by the end of October. The FAFSA is the free application for federal student aid. That's what that stands for. And that's now opening in December. So that used to open in October, but they have pushed it back this year because they have reworked the FAFSA. They're actually calling it the FAFSA simplification. So hopefully, ideally, it's supposed to be an easier process, but the changes they had to make to it, they pushed it back to opening that in December. But that's okay. That's actually flows really well. That do your applications. If you can do it in October, great. But October, November, get those done. And then in December, shift the focus to doing the FAFSA. You can be applying for scholarships year round. And I'll point to some things that are open now that you could start doing those searches and applications. And then in January and February is when local scholarships open up. And those are usually due in March. So it really does. There's steps that you do through the year. You don't have to do it all right now. I know that sometimes it's overwhelming at this point in the year, but it is phased through the year, these steps that you would have to take. So the first thing is that if you don't know where you want to apply, it's time to kind of get some ideas on that. Most of the college application, like workshops and things that I go to, recommend students to apply to maybe like 3 to 5 schools, and based on a number of criteria. So first, it's just, do they help you achieve your goals? So an example might be, you want to be a pilot, and so you need to get the aviation degree. And there's really only a couple of schools in Michigan that offer that. So that would be an example of like, you might not be able to go to Ferris because they don't have that. So that would be where we can start to figure out, okay, what do you want to do for a career? And are there other places you can go? Is there a similar degree that you could get that would get you to where you want to go? Some example, a lot of times people that are thinking they want to go pre-med have it in their head they want to go to Michigan for medical school, and actually it's not maybe the best choice to go to Michigan for your bachelor's degree. To apply for medical school, you're pretty much just going to get your bachelor's degree in biology, and you can do that literally anywhere. So maybe it makes sense to pick a school that's cheaper, knowing that you're going to have a lot more ahead of you, and that's going to be not quite as crazy, hard, selective, difficult to get into, at a school that you can actually kill it and get a 4.0. That would be more helpful to getting into medical school later on. So again, those are the kinds of things that we can help with, but also it is on you to do a little bit, some of that research. Do they meet your other criteria? There's a website that I've just learned of that I think I might send on to everybody that helps people do the college search. And so I expect I'll be sending that out in the next couple of weeks, but it helps you figure out, what do you want out of a school? Do you want to be close to home? Do you want to go away? Do you want to stay in Michigan? Do you want to go out of state? That pretty much directly relates to cost, that it's a lot cheaper to stay in Michigan. It's more expensive to pay out of state tuition. Private and public also do affect the cost. Do you want to go to a big school? Do you want to go to a small school? I don't know if you can see, but I'm wearing my Michigan State t-shirt, which is where I went after SC4. And a lot of people I know were like, I would never go there. It's giant. I would have gotten lost in the shuffle. And I would tell you that even those big schools, you can make them small based on the communities that you join and what you're a part of, both friends that you have there, people that you meet in your dorm, people that you meet in your classes, people that you meet at work. It doesn't always have to feel super overwhelming. But if you know you want to be at a school where you're going to know everybody on campus, definitely Michigan State's not the way to go. There's a lot of smaller schools that would be great for that. One thing that I've recently come across is the recommendation to choose a financially safer school, a college that you're likely to be accepted to and be able to afford. So there are a few, there's not really a ton of research on this in the state, but a few that I know of where people get usually pretty good financial aid and they are a little cheaper. Oakland is a big one. Saginaw Valley is one. I'm pretty sure Grand Valley is pretty close to that. There are some options, and that would be where you can kind of make your list of even 5 to 10 schools that you're thinking about, and we can start to look at sort of the average cost per year, and you can start deciding, okay, I'm going to have to probably just cross that one off the list. I was ambivalent about it anyway, and it's way more expensive than these other schools I've been thinking about. The other thing is, will your credits transfer? And ideally, everyone's been following their degree plan, and it's going to have the Michigan transfer agreement done. And so things are going to transfer pretty well almost anywhere you go, especially in state. Out of state, it's going to be a little trickier. There's not this handy website, michigantransfer.org, because you're going to a school outside of Michigan. But things do transfer pretty well to out-of-state schools, and our previous students' experience, people are still having 55, 60 credits transfer. Sometimes it might not be for what you thought it was going to work for, but it would still count as an elective, and it would be a good foundation to a similar class that you have to take there. And then kind of the next thing is, do you meet their criteria? So they are going to look at your high school GPA and your SAT scores, probably, and I'll show you some ways to check who's asking for that again. And then some other factors as far as like those highly selective schools are also going to look pretty hard at your extracurriculars, what kind of accomplishments that you have. And we'll talk again in more detail about all of that. But this gives you an idea. This is a chart that an organization in Michigan made a couple of years ago, but these are still pretty similar. Just kind of showing you the different levels of the average scores. So your GPA would be your high school GPA. That's what they're going to be looking at. And so that is your Blue Water Middle College transcripts GPA. And that will be a combination of your college and high school classes. They are not weighted. So if you had a weighted grade for like an AP class, that is not on our transcript. So our transcripts are on a scale of 4.0. So this can kind of give you an idea of where you'd fall. And there are some average SAT scores there. A big thing to point out here, these are all averages. So there's people that get below that. There's people that have above it, but this is kind of the average of what their students have in each class. That's not to say Hillsdale or Michigan is off the table if you're not in this 3.8 GPA or higher, or this 1350 or higher SAT score. It just means you're going to have to do some stuff to offset that a little bit. Sometimes an SAT can offset the GPA or vice versa. That could be where you write a killer essay about the volunteering you do is directly related to the program that you want to pursue there. If you have a unique story to tell, all of those things are taken into account. This actually, there's this new thing. So this is basically, they're saying 2.8 or above for most of these schools. And this list of schools, they've just started this Michigan Assured Admission Pact, calling it MAP. And these 10 schools have said any student that comes to us with a high school GPA of a 3.0 or above is just going to be guaranteed admission. So that's a helpful thing because you can see some of these are on the list where they were actually previously kind of the average was a 3.3 and above. Oakland is one of them. U of M Flint is one of them. Central, Eastern. So there's quite a few that are on this list that if you have a 3.0 GPA or higher, you're pretty much guaranteed, well, you are guaranteed admission. Maybe not guaranteed scholarships and all that, but these are all schools that you can consider to be safe schools if you have a 3.0 or higher. There's a little bit more information at that website, and we're going to hear more as it comes, but they do have, well, let's go over. Well, I don't know if I have that linked there. Yeah, we'll come back to that. But I'm going to send all these links to you as well. So you can click on, you know what, we're going to just go to it. Their site, what's most helpful about it is they have links to all of the colleges and kind of how it works to do the guaranteed admission. So they have the list of participating schools, and it just kind of scrolls us down here. And this tells us basically click on each school below for your map to how do you do a visit, how do you apply, learning about financial aid. So an example, Lake Superior State, when we click here, it brings us to their blank page. That was a terrible one. I bet this link is going to bring us right back to MAP. That's awesome. So hopefully this is very, very new. So I wonder if these guys just haven't even gotten the information out on their website yet. Oakland, I can always count on to have great information on their website. So they kind of explain how that works. What is assured admission? Why would I go to Oakland? Financial aid stuff. How do I apply? So all of these are great places to start. Even if you're thinking about one of those schools and you're not really worried about that assured admission, those are good links to bring you to that kind of have sort of the basics of where to start the application process there. This other page is the Michigan Institution Update. So this is a whole database of all the colleges in Michigan, public, private, 2-year, 4-year, all of it. And it shows kind of the basics of the information, admissions information, which the main thing that most people are wondering about at this point is, are they requiring the SAT? So let's see, what's one that I've been getting asked about? Let's go to Grand Valley. And so you click here and it has kind of all the basics. So they are test optional still. So that means that you don't have to submit your SAT score. There's no application fee, there's no essay, and it has the link right to the application. So this is a great resource for kind of everything you need to know all in a one-stop shop. They do talk about deadlines. Let's see. The admission deadline seems to be like a rolling thing. So they're saying we just need your application 30 days before registration closes, which usually is right up until the beginning of the semester. Some are going to have deadlines that are a little bit earlier in the year. Usually March 1st is kind of the main deadline in order to apply and complete the FAFSA by then in order to get the most financial aid. I'm going to go to, let's find, they do not have a deadline for application. Okay, application deadline, August 23rd. So that's another one, a school that will accept applications pretty much right up until when the semester starts. Let's go to Fussy Pants, University of Michigan. So they're saying if you want to apply to start in the fall of 2024, you can do the early action application by November 1st, which is pretty standard, or you would need to do your regular application by February 1st. So if you decided in April you want to apply to Michigan, you're going to be applying for the following year. They actually don't accept applications that late in the year, but they're the rare. They're the rarity. Most schools do accept applications even through the summer. So that's a great resource that I will send to you. These other pages are really helpful. Bigfuture.org is an awesome website that helps you search careers. If you're still not really sure what you want to do, I have a whole list of career quizzes you can do to give you ideas, and then you can kind of take that into your college search. But if you kind of have some ideas about what you want to do, you can search by careers. It'll kind of direct you to different majors that you should pick to get into that career, which then directs you to colleges that have that major. These are national websites, so you can use this to search anywhere, but you can also usually filter it down to what state you're interested in. But those are really great sites that I'll be sending you. So knowing the deadlines for applying, that page that I'm going to send you has that all in one place. So that's a great thing. I have seen people, I think I'll maybe make you a template for this, but I've seen some people make spreadsheets. So they have basically all the things they need to know about each school. So the deadlines, the tasks that they have. Do you need an essay? Do you not? Do you need letters of recommendation? Do you not? Are you going to apply on Common App or on the website? And we'll talk about that next. There are some schools that have these early action, early decision, or regular decision. So just to kind of pop back to the U of M, you can see they had this early action deadline. So what that means is that you're just applying early and they're going to give you an answer earlier. It doesn't mean you have to commit to the college early. Usually it's May 1st at pretty much every school is when you have to say, okay, I've been accepted into this handful of schools. I've gotten my financial aid award letters, which tells me how much aid I'm going to get at each place, and I'm making the final decision. That's when you have to do that by May 1st. There are some schools that have early decision applications. These are binding. So if you are going to apply to like Duke or Harvard, those schools that are highly selective, they're often called. Ivy Leagues are definitely like the highest subset of highly selective class schools. If you're thinking about that, let me know, and we should be working hand in hand on this. But for the most part, Michigan being the toughest school to get into in Michigan, I don't even think they have an early decision option. It's just basically early action. But if you are thinking about a school like that, basically you're applying, you're saying early decision. And if you get in, you are committed to going to that school. So you don't, it kind of takes your choice out. So that means you're deciding that before you see your financial aid offers. So this is something that I don't really recommend unless you're really heart set. Dream of your life is to go to some school that's really, really competitive to get into. Most of you will be doing regular decision applications, and that's wonderful. That's what most of the schools in Michigan have, that, as well as we saw it. Michigan has theirs. Theirs is a little bit earlier. Most regular decision applications are due by March 1st, and mainly that's just so that you are available for the best scholarship opportunities. So there's several ways you can apply. Most of them you can apply right on their website. Some you can only apply through the Common Application. U of M is one that you can only apply that way. A lot of schools give you the choice where you can either apply online on their website, where basically you create an account and just do it right there, or they say you can apply through Common Application. If you have at least one school that's Common Application, you might want to check and see, do my other schools use Common App? Because if it does, then it's kind of it's basically one application that applies you to multiple schools. So that can be really helpful. We will look at some Common App information in just a second. Application fees are something to take a look at. There are fee waivers available. If you were ever eligible for, like if you know you're eligible for TIP, or if you ever had free and reduced lunch, there's some other benchmarks that make you eligible for fee waivers, but basically it's showing that you have a strong financial need. And most people will be more eligible for like the free applications available in October, which I'll show you that next. The other preparation stuff you should be doing right now is requesting recommendation letters, start drafting your essays, and we'll talk about those in detail. This I'll send you as a PDF, but this is a screenshot of the college the Michigan College Month application fee waivers. So basically all of these colleges up top are not charging an application fee in the month of October. They just aren't there. And I think most of them just never really charge an application fee. The ones down below are waiving them just for the month of October. And you can see, unfortunately, my alma mater makes it extra tricky that it's only for the first 3 weeks of October, October 1st through 21st. And then you have a code for some of these others, like I think there's Western, I don't think is a code. I have a little band at the bottom that I can't see. Yeah, so Western doesn't have a code, but it would just be free basically for the month. They just pull it off of their application. This QR code is actually going to bring you to that page that I showed you that has all that information by the institution, where you can see the application deadline and all that, or you can go right to this direct link. Again, I'll be sending all this stuff to you. Essays, even if the school doesn't require it, it might be worth doing. Sometimes there's an opportunity to do an essay and it would be optional, or they might ask, is there anything else you want to tell us about yourself? That is an option that you should take advantage of. All of you have this pretty cool thing that you've done by doing the middle college. And you can kind of talk about your challenges or what you've liked about it, how you feel like it's helped you grow. You want to tell them why you want to attend there, what you can bring to their campus, what makes you unique. So some things that, and I've been to different workshops with admissions counselors who have said, One was at Michigan, and of course, as a Spartan, I feel that I thought it was just funny that they did this, but one was at University of Michigan, and they got on this whole thing of, we get a lot of essays that are talking about, I decided I wanted to go to Michigan when I first went to a football game at the Big House. That's what makes me want to go there. And the person talking about this said, of course, everybody wants to come to Michigan when they come to the Big House, which I didn't, but and so those things that are kind of the cliche, or the things that everybody loves about that campus, might not be that unique story to tell. It might be more, I used to go to games with my grandpa. He's an engineer. That always made me want to be an engineer. That's a story to tell. And just kind of talking about your life, your relationships, your world, and you just want to get across who you are, basically. Another workshop that I went to said, those things that you have been made fun of, that make you feel weird, those are what make you unique. And that's your special talent or special gift that you can bring to campus. So those are great topics. They do talk about, people have been through traumatic experiences or have had tough times. And that's often what people write about in their admissions or their application essays, which is obviously very life altering, some of the things that have happened. And that is your big story. That's okay to tell that story. If you can give it a spin of what you've learned from that, how you've grown from that, that's definitely what they want to see. They also have said they're pretty much over the whole COVID essays. They were getting a lot of essays of like, I really struggled with the online classes and and they're like, yes, everybody did. No one liked that. Which isn't even necessarily true. Some people really liked being at home and doing everything online. So, but those things that kind of is everyone's story is probably not what you want to write about. You want to write about your weird, cool, unique self and what makes you special to come to that campus. Definitely get all this stuff proofread, show it to every person you can think of, your English teachers at your high school, your English teachers at SE4, any of us in the middle college office would be happy to read those. The writing center on campus will help you with that. Ask your boss at work, your aunt, your parents, whoever you trust that has kind of some sense of how to write, ask for their help, and have it proofread. Another thing to point out, and I think I talk about this a little bit in a later point, but in recommendation letters, I've kind of started making this little questionnaire that I have everybody fill out before I can write the letter. And it's just asking what kind of stuff you're into, like what extracurriculars have you done? What do you want to do for a career? All these things of like helping me tell your story in the recommendation letter. But your parents, your family, your friends are a really good resource to tell you what makes you unique. Sometimes we just don't know that stuff about ourselves ever. Like that's a lifelong process figuring out those things. So if you need some help, and those are good people to ask those kinds of things to, who would brag about you, that they're the ones that can tell you what to write your essay about if you don't have ideas. Okay, so the big thing, this is, if you pay attention to nothing else, please pay attention to this right now. We see these mistakes every year, and it sometimes creates some paperwork havoc. Sometimes it results in not getting as much financial aid as you expected, and just a whole kind of chaotic thing. But you are applying as a freshman, not a transfer. Sometimes they'll call it first time college. Sometimes they will call it first year student, freshman. That's what you're looking for. And I'll point out on an application kind of how to figure that out. But you are not a transfer student. You are a freshman. If you are applying to schools in the state of Michigan, everyone in Michigan is very aware of middle colleges and how this whole thing works. They are aware that, yes, you don't have your high school diploma yet. You won't until the end of your 13th year, but you're going to be coming with a crap load of college credit. And that's okay. Kind of the simplest way to put it is during the college application process, the admissions process, you are a freshman. And then once you get accepted and you decide you're going to go there and you're actually making the commitment to go there, then you become whatever grade level you're at based on how many credits you have. And we'll talk more about that in future success sessions, but that's the basics to get you started. You're applying as a freshman. The next thing is that Blue Water Middle College is your high school. So it is not Port Huron Northern. It is not Algonac, Capac, Yale, Memphis. Who am I missing? Port Huron High. That is not your high school. You were technically, officially a guest at that high school while you were finishing up stuff there. Blue Water Middle College is your official high school. So your transcripts will come from Blue Water Middle College, and we will talk about how to order those, I think, next. When they're asking you what your high school is, you're going to type in Blue Water Middle College. Again, not Port Huron Northern. Those are the biggest culprits. And again, as a Port Huron Northern alumni, I can feel good about, I can say it bluntly, that it is probably our biggest culprits for people putting the wrong high school down. Mainly, I think transcripts are, and we'll touch on it a little bit further about really what can happen if you don't follow that carefully, but that is the main thing. So you're going to keep records of your usernames and passwords, save every email that you get from a college application, or sorry, a college admissions office. And I had it to look at a CMU application, but I think we might look at a couple others as well. So this links right to it, but I want to show you, if you just Google, not SMU, but CMU, geez Louise, I can't, application, it'll bring you basically to that page that we were just at. If you were ever on any college website, msu.edu is the Michigan State website. Almost everywhere has a button somewhere that says apply. That's the place to go. Admissions is what you're looking for. Application, apply. Those are all kind of what you want to look for on the main website, or you can just Google GVSU application or whatever the case. So you can see the different application types. So you are first year applicants, and right off the bat, this phrase, I'm going to college for the first time, is what's going to make you think, well, that's not right. That's not true. I'm not going to college for the first time. But for the sake of these applications, you are first year freshman applicants. So you would click here and it'll kind of explain. So the main thing is you are currently in high school. You are, regardless of total college credits. Yep. And you have not graduated, or if you have graduated, but you're not yet. So this includes early middle college students. So that's the main thing, that you're completing the high school diploma at the same time as an associate degree. Before you apply, they'll give you the whole list of everything that you need to know. And you click apply now to actually start your application. You can see you would want to apply by November 1st for maximum scholarships consideration. So that's pretty early. And they show you the different ways to apply. Coalition is kind of a new thing. I haven't heard much of it. There's some schools that use it, but not a ton. Probably what I would recommend is either doing the application here on their website or doing Common App. And again, if you have more than one school that uses Common App, then it makes sense to use Common App. If you were going to do it on the website, you're going to click there. Basically, you're going to click create an account, and then you start entering your information. So applications are pretty easy. It's just filling out a form about yourself. Some of them can be time consuming. Not all of them are that time consuming. Common App is, I would think, the easiest way if you're applying to multiple colleges that use this. So you can see, oh goodness, how do I get out of here? You can enter all the colleges that you're thinking about and see if they're on there. Like, let's put in, what if I wanted to apply to Michigan State and Western Michigan? Are they on there? Yes, Western is on there. So then that would be, again, more indicators that, yes, I should do the Common App. If you do Common App, at some point, it's going to ask you who is your counselor. And again, that is not your counselor at Port Huron Northern. That is me. I am your counselor at your high school, Blue Water Middle College. So you would put my information down there, which everyone should have my email and phone number from all the emails I send you. It's on there. I think I'll send you a video from Common App. I thought I had one here, but I'll send you a video that was really helpful. There's something I came across where it really walks you through every single step in the Common App process. So if you're worried about it, you can do that. But again, it's not hard. It's just answering questions about yourself. It's just making sure that you have everything you need. So when you apply, you're going to do the application either online, on their website, or on Common App. And then at some point, they're going to say, okay, cool. Blue Water Middle College was your high school. Make sure you send us their transcript. Did you take any college classes? Yes, I did. And then they're going to say, what college did you go to? And you went to SC4, St. Clair County Community College. And they're going to say, awesome, send us that transcript too. So you're sending both your high school and your college transcripts. Your high school transcripts will have your high school GPA. So they're probably going to ask for that. You're going to have to enter a lot of stuff that's on your transcript, which will seem silly. But they have you just enter it separately. Not sure why. So you're going to want a copy of that for yourself. You can actually request that in parchment that will send it to yourself so that you can see that. I can also email that to you as well. Parchment.com is how we send transcripts. So they're sent electronically, and you would have gotten an email invitation to set up your account. I actually just resent those a couple of weeks ago when we had our first in-person option for this session. That was sent to your SE4 email. So if you have that, you would just, your email will look like this. You would just click that orange button, register your free account, and then you would set up your account. If you don't see that in your SE4 email, go to the search button and search Parchment, and you'll find that invitation. If you're still not finding it, let me know and I can resend it. So you would set that up, and once you're in, it's going to ask just kind of like, what's your GPA? What were your SAT scores? So again, you might want those to get your account set up, and I'd be happy to send you just a copy of your transcript. I can email it to you, and that's kind of handy to have for a bunch of stuff. So just let me know if you want that. Otherwise, once you set it up, it's very easy. There's a button that says order. You click that. It's asking, what do you want to order? You scroll down and click transcript, and it asks where you want to send it to. You start typing in the college. That all pops up. It's very easy to navigate once you're in. On the other side, SE4 transcripts are also sent online, but it's through this website, which is at se4.edu/transcript. Those do cost $5.25 per transcript that you send. So they might not need that at this point. Most colleges, once you say that you have done some college credit, are going to ask for it. But if they don't, I wouldn't recommend, like, you don't need to send it until they ask you for it, basically. Save yourself the $5. Both of these, your high school transcript and your college transcript, they will want a final copy once you finish this school year. So after the school year ends the first week of May, Mrs. Lawson works really quickly to get everybody's grades updated so that your transcripts are ready pretty quick. Like by mid-May, she usually has that ready to go. And so you would need to send your final high school transcript and your final SE4 transcript. They want to see your final high school transcript to find out, did you actually graduate? Because it used to be that people would apply and get in and then bomb their senior year and not actually even officially graduate. And colleges didn't know about that before everything was online. The final SE4 transcript, they want to see your final credits, and then that's when they do the final credit transfer. So again, those would be happening in like May, June, and I will send reminders and we'll see each other before that, but just to kind of give you the heads up. As you are doing these applications, admissions reps are going to be communicating with you. They might email you and say, hey, I had a question. I see that you said you're a middle college student, but you put Port Huron Northern for your high school. Is that right? Or are you at the Blue Water Middle College? Like, they might ask you that stuff if they're quick and sharp and kind of figure that out. Not everybody's going to figure that out though. So again, make sure you're applying correctly. But if they say anything weird, or maybe they have a question about something with your application, they're not going to just throw your application away and say, oh, this person doesn't even know how to apply. They're going to call or email or text you with the questions. And sometimes people get freaked out about it. Like, oh my gosh, the admissions rep is reaching out to me, and kind of panic. But that's absolutely not necessary. The admissions reps are your advocate. Like, they're the people that are trying to help you get into this school. They represent basically our county or a section of Michigan that we're a part of. And so they want their people to get in. So it's to their interest to help you get in. So they're basically your biggest advocate there. So make sure you're replying to things promptly, check your email regularly, keep things professional. If they're texting you, you might not want to use full text speak. Still try to text in complete sentences, and just answer any question they have. There are going to be college admissions people on campus. We are going to have the U of M Flint person in the office, actually Monday. That's coming up, just this coming Monday. She's going to be there at 2 p.m. She didn't tell me how long she's going to be there. I know she'd be there at least an hour, but it might be longer. When I get more info, I will send it. Hopefully I'll have it for this follow-up email, the full time that she'll be there. Central is also just going to be on campus and in the main building on October 11th. U of M, the College of, like they call it LSA, Literature, Science, and Arts. Almost every major is within that. They're going to be on campus to talk about transferring next Wednesday, and then November 8th. And then Madonna University will be on campus on November 7th. These things are all, except for the U of M Flint, who the person reached out to me to set it up and is just going to specifically be in our office. These are always posted on the announcements on the portal. So I recommend you kind of keep an eye on that as you're deciding places to go and maybe wanting to meet with admissions people. They can answer any questions about how things will transfer, your whole application process, any questions that you might have. And it can't hurt, even if you don't have questions, if you know you're applying to that school, stop in and say hello and say, hey, I just sent my application, or I'm working on it and I'm going to submit it next week. Just kind of introduce yourself and make a good connection there. So once you do the whole application process, the next step is to complete the FAFSA, which again is the federal, what did I just say? Free application for federal student aid. There are sites that I will send you that give you some idea of what you're going to need to complete that. You will need your parents' information. They do have to submit basically their financial information. Even if you are pretty independent of your parents or they don't pay for any of your stuff, they still base your financial need based on what your parents make. That will open in December. I'll send you a bunch of stuff that'll kind of help you start thinking about things. But again, you really can't even start that until December. In the meantime, we will have that success session where you can learn about all of it in great detail. And I really, really recommend attending that and inviting your parents to join you. Another factor for completing the FAFSA is this new application that the state of Michigan has created called the Michigan Achievement Scholarship. The only requirement is to complete the FAFSA and have financial need, but they have lowered the benchmarks or kind of raised the benchmarks of who is eligible and who has financial need. So the goal here is to kind of create some opportunities for more middle-class students, where a lot of people in the past have said, my parents make too much money for me to be eligible for anything, but not enough money where we have even like an extra $500 laying around to just pay out of pocket for college. Most people are kind of in that window. So this really opens up some financial aid for students that weren't previously eligible. There's another thing that you can start is to start applying for scholarships. There are national sites that are open now and stay open the whole year and kind of have rolling, like new scholarships opening up, new deadlines through the year. All of these are great for that. I will be sending these to you. This is just, you set up an account, you put in all the information you can about yourself, and they'll start sort of sifting through all the thousands of scholarships that are out there, and they'll start sending recommendations to you based on stuff that you would be eligible for. National scholarships are great. There's usually kind of big chunks of money out there. You might be very eligible, overqualified even for some of these. The problem with national scholarships is you're competing with people across the country. The other stuff that's available, there will be local scholarships that they usually try to open up the application before Christmas so that people can work on it over break. But if not, it's usually open kind of right away at the 1st of January. And these applications are due by mid-March. I think last year was March 14th is when they were due. So SE4 has a list of applications, and the St. Clair County Community Foundation organizes another group of applications or of scholarships. Each of these are based for all kinds of different opportunities, and each one is its own application where you can apply to multiple scholarships. So again, we'll look at that a little bit more in detail at the next success session about financial aid, but I just wanted to throw it out there. And lastly, what you should be doing right now is just working your butt off to try to make your transcript as strong as possible, so that you're really painting the right picture of yourself as just an awesome student and person that every college would be lucky to have on campus. So most of you have 6 to 10 classes done, 30 to 32 credits done. And again, you're basically halfway through. If you can shoot for that GPA of a 3.0 or higher, that's ideal. And you have basically the other half coming right now. So you've got lots of opportunity to improve. Don't go below a C as far as what you need for transferability. But don't let that make you think you need to withdraw from everything if you don't have a C or higher. Sometimes it makes sense just to scrape out that D- and be done with that class. It might not be something that you even need to transfer, but it is credit that you can get done that will get your degree done potentially. So if you're struggling, let me know, let any of us know, we can work with you. Be very careful about how much you're working. I don't think it's the people here right now, but I had a few emails this week of like, well, I'm not going to be able to come to the in-person or the Zoom because I have to work. I'm working 2 jobs. I'm working like 40, 50 hours a week. I've seen from some people. And I totally understand. I was the same way when I was your age, where it was like, I have to work. I pay my own rent. Nobody's helping me pay for college, and I need to make as much money as I possibly can, versus balancing it of, do you have time to actually do your best work and get your best grades in your college classes? That's a really tough thing to balance this year, but it's really important to be able to keep prioritizing school right now. Get help as soon as you need it. I know we've been saying that every time we see you for the last 2.5 years. Know your syllabus, communicate with your instructor. Face-to-face is best. Phone and email are good too. If you are finding that your instructor is not answering your emails, it would be my recommendation to call them. See in the syllabus what they recommend for how they like to be contacted. Find the phone number, leave a voicemail and say, hey, I've sent you a couple emails and haven't heard back from you. Just try to say it all as nice as possible. The last thing, so this is basically everyone's homework, is that everyone needs to complete the EDP one last final time. So you've done this every year, the educational development plan. It's basically just a Google form at this link. I don't think, sometimes it doesn't pop up when I go that way. Yeah, what the heck? It's so annoying. So if you put in copy this link, it will show you. It's super easy. If you need any help or you have any questions about that, let me know, but it's really just filling out your information. It's again, asking basically about your progress towards your associate degree, what you're thinking about for careers, all of these things. And this is again, a document that the state requires every student to have on file. So everyone has to do this. And I'll be sending this link. And that is it. Just another reminder, early alert grades come out on Monday. Winter registration opens October 30th, technically Sunday night at midnight. And the next success session, the in-person options will be Friday, November 17th, which is the Friday, the week before Thanksgiving. And then the Zoom option will be on Tuesday, November 28th, which is the Tuesday after Thanksgiving. So please let me know if you have questions or you want to set up a meeting. Things are starting to get a little hectic with my schedule right now. So if you know I want to talk to you before registration opens October 30th, we're just about a month away from that. So reach out now and we'll set something up, but don't wait till that week before. I might not be able to fit you in that week, basically, but we will get it sorted and chat. I'm going to stop recording if I can get this. So yeah, hold on one second and